That all leads us to our talk of the tape. Did the brutal start to September price in a bit too much near-term economic weakness? Or is this today a head fake relief bounce with the burden of proof still falling on the soft landing believers? We are going to debate all of that. But first, we turn to Apple, which just unveiled its latest generation of devices built for AI. Let's bring in Adam Parker of Trivariate Research, Alex Kantrowitz of Big Technology, Bryn Talkington of Requisite Capital Management, and our technology correspondent, Steve Kovac, who is on site. And Steve, let's start with you there. You went in there with your kind of checklist of what we might get in terms of detail. We now know what Apple has unveiled. Were there any surprises? Was there anything you felt maybe you expected to hear that you didn't?
That front, Mike, and this is something that Apple is calling visual intelligence. This is going to be a unique feature on the iPhone 16 lineup that was just announced. And going into today, that was something I was looking for. Is there going to be a sort of unique AI feature that you're only going to get on the iPhone 16 and not the older devices? Visual intelligence, according to Apple, it's this thing where you can, whip out your camera, take a picture of something in the real world, and it'll give you information about it. The example Apple did, for example, was you take a picture of a restaurant, it'll show you the menu, let you take a reservation, things of that nature. This is nothing new, though. We've seen similar technologies from Meta, which is embedding it in those Ray-Ban glasses. We've also seen Google do something similar and OpenAI. So nothing new, but again, new for Apple putting it in there. And then the other thing I would note is this, still a lot of questions remain after today, Mike, about the rollout of Apple Intelligence and when we're going to see certain features and when. We do know after today that, after recapping some of the same features that they did 3 months ago when we were out here back in June, they still don't have a very strict timeline from when everything is going to be available. They said it's going to be rolling out over months, but they did announce some new languages that are coming next year, including Chinese. That is, of course, a very important one. Apple launching Apple Intelligence over there in China, where customers tend to gravitate towards these the latest and greatest features, maybe even more than the U.S. And of course, China is where up to a fifth of Apple sales happen, and they've been just struggling in that country recently. So they still have some regulatory things to work out there, but very interesting that the idea that Apple had for some kind of unique iPhone 16 AI feature was this visual intelligence thing. Whether or not that drives upgrades, we'll find out, but that's the idea they're presenting today, Mike. Yeah, obviously a big question in terms of what it means in terms of whether it moves the needle, Alex, on this upgrade cycle. You do have people out there saying this might finally be a catalyst to have a lot of that older installed base upgrade. What do you think in terms of what you heard today, just at least having these devices ready for what's coming in AI?
Yeah, I think all the people running out and saying that Apple Intelligence is going to spark a supercycle are wrong. I think we can confirm that today. Some of these products that they're talking about, for instance, visual intelligence, we've seen before, like Steve mentioned with Meta, Google Lens. This is a Google Lens rehash. We also know that a lot of the Apple Intelligence features we're not going to see until 2025, and the ones that are going to ship with the new phones, they're not that impressive. I have the new iOS 18.1 or 2 on my phone, so I've seen these like notification summaries, and they're not a needle mover for me. So to me, after watching today's event, I think this is really just going to be evolutionary for Apple, a typical upgrade cycle, which it really needed something bigger because we've seen sales stagnation, weakness in China, and a slowing consumer. And this is not going to really end up reversing some of those forces the way that Apple and some of its fans might have hoped.
Bryn, I know you own the stock. It's down 1.25%. That's not that atypical of a release date type reaction for the stock when we pretty much had some expectations baked in. But one thing that does occur to me is if you had existing iPhone users who had just a general reluctance to re-up to the new model because who knows what's coming down the road, it would seem as if this is at least one fewer impediment to getting somebody to refresh, considering that it's going to be equipped for whatever AI offerings are out there.
Sure. And also, we don't really know. I think it'll be pretty extensive how much rebates or behind the scenes that AT&T and Verizon, the other U.S. carriers, do to get people to buy the iPhone 16. But I think Alex hit it spot on. I listened to the call. I own Apple. If you own the Qs, I own the Qs, JPQ. I own Apple outright. But I do think that, and I've been saying this, I feel over the next year, this is going to be incremental not exponential. When we have these super cycles, you had people camping out at the iPhone store. You have 1.56 billion people by the end of this year will have an iPhone. I think when I distill it down today, what I hear is Apple focuses on security, health, memories via the phones, and then convenience and efficiency. And I think that this AI will put that all on hyperdrive, which is great, but I don't think it's going to all of a sudden you're going to get a step function up in iPhone sales. That being said, I think that the durability of earnings, the sustainability of earnings, even though revenues are low single digits, I don't think the stock is going to be a big outperformer or underperformer. I just think this is a nice move in Apple's journey to still have pole position on everybody wanting to have this device in their